Hi, everyone, and welcome to our Divergent discussion. This is a little bit different today. You've got me here, Michelle, and I'm the founder of Kaboose. And today I'm actually talking to one of my colleagues, Karla, who is our clinical lead here at Kaboose. So we're going to be talking all things ableism. We're going to try and understand what it is and maybe some strategies on how to navigate it throughout your life, or maybe you're caring for someone that has ableism experiences in school or work. So just a reminder, we are recording, so you will be able to access the copy if you've got a paid ticket. I will also have lots of time for questions, so feel free to drop those into the chat as we go, because that will make it much more interesting and we can answer specific questions on ableism. But for those who don't know Karla, let me introduce her. Karla is a neurodivergent psychotherapist, a PhD researcher and advocate who has dedicated her career to supporting autistic and neurodivergent individuals in leading a more empowered, authentic life. As the clinical lead here at Kaboose, Karla brings both her professional insight and personal understanding to her work, offering a deeply compassionate neuro-affirming approach. Currently, Karla is pursuing her PhD in psychology, and which is focused on ADHD in women. And Karla and I can talk for hours, and even in fact before the call we're like talking about all these things. It's like, okay, we better make sure we're online. So welcome, Karla.
Thank you, Michelle. It's so great to be here with you. It's always great to have a chat with you.
It's like recording our
Exactly.
conversations. We could do it all the time.
Yeah.
This is an interesting topic, though, and I often get asked questions about this. I guess from a clinical perspective, how do you define ableism? So maybe what is it to start with?
Yeah, I think, first of all, it's a very difficult word to say.
It is a
Ableism.
difficult word.
I struggle with it because I read things as I see it. So I'm a phonetic reader. So I'm like, ableism, but ableism is just, it's kind of like a system that is built for a very typical or holistic brain. So it's the way that we communicate, and we kind of group everybody in one group. So
Yes.
we would say, okay, but everybody needs this at work, or nobody needs that at school. And if you do need that, then that's it's an accommodation. So that's something extra that you need. So it's kind of like saying that there's one way and this is the right way, and everything else is extra or special needs or specific needs for individuals. And I think with ableism, we do it so innately that I'm also guilty of it, and I am neurodivergent, but I would catch myself, even communicating with friends sometimes, and I would say, oh, but that doesn't really matter, my, specific needs that I might have. So there are specific ways of engaging in ableistic or ableist comments. So you can either be making ableism or ableist comments, where you say that, like, let's say somebody needs a specific accommodation, and you might say that that's not really important. Um, or you can be, or it can be internal ableism, where you say to yourself, oh, I'm just being lazy, or why can't I just push through? So there are different facets to ableism, but I think we're all guilty of engaging in some ableist comments at times.
Yeah, I think so. So I guess it would be great to understand, like, why is it important for both neurodivergent people to understand what ableism is, and then neurotypicals, why should each group understand it?
Yeah. So from a more personal point of view, I don't think that there are two separate groups, neurodivergent
Yeah,
versus
okay, good.
neurotypical. Yeah, for me it's more, yeah, it's kind of like we're kind of like in this web of divergence, and some individuals are just a little bit more neurodivergent, and other people or individuals think a little bit more holistically or typically. So our brains are a little bit more typical,
Yes.
or more divergent towards, like, a skewed, if you look at the normal bell curve, it's kind of like those outsiders or outliers that we call in science. But I would say that it is important for everybody to understand what could be harmful as a comment, and also what could be harmful for ourselves. It's the stories that we tell ourselves, right? That's self ableism, or internal ableism, where we're saying to ourselves, you just got to push through. You have to learn like others do. Like this comment from Sean said, I think we all get trained in aiming for the norm and what we do and what we say. And if everybody can work from 8 to 5, why can't I? And I know as an ADHDer, I work best in sprints. So I don't work really
Yes.
well in a marathon. So if you tell me, Karla, you need to do Kaboose work from 8 to 5, I see it as a chore. But if you say, do the work whenever you feel like you've got that creative flow, that's perfect. And that's
Yes.
one of the biggest reasons why we need to understand that with ableism, we should question it, because we don't work like the typical in the middle of the normal bell curve, the typical holistic brain.
Yes.
So that's internally, and why it's important for us as neurodivergent individuals. A more typical brain, or somebody that doesn't really get why we need certain things in our workplace, it's important because first, and this is good for corporates, we're going to increase productivity. If the way that we work is geared towards our types of brains, we are going to be more productive. And in the end, that's what corporates need, right? They want
Yes.
us to work better.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
if you're going to push me to work like a very typical brain, then I'm going to not work as well. I'm not going to be as on point and creative and hyper focused or hyper
Yes.
fixated on the work. So I think it's not just from, obviously, I'm not trying to just push productivity out of myself, but
Yes.
I think it's also just understanding and having that respect for one another, because then there's going to be a sense of belonging, which we always want. There's going to be a sense of acceptance, understanding, and also knowing that the way that you work, even if you work for an hour compared to 5, that's okay. That hour, you're going to do amazing work. So I think it's it's
Yeah.
important
Yeah.
for everyone.
I think so. I think ableism is hard to get your head
Difficult
around.
word, right?
It's a difficult word, and the concept, I think, is difficult to get your head around. I know when I talk to various people, it's like, well, what is it? I guess, like, can you think of some subtle or hidden ways ableism shows up in daily life? Like, maybe we could think about it from a adult perspective and then maybe from a young person's perspective.
Yeah, I think this comment is actually really great. I'm struggling with internal ableism since self-diagnosing with PDA, which is a persistent drive for autonomy. Early last year at age 55, making accommodations for myself has been a real gear shift. And this is exactly it, right? It's like we believe that these accommodations are a massive mission sometimes, because we're like, oh, can I ask for the people to dim the lights? Or can I ask to sit in the corner? Or can I ask to work at certain hours? And it's actually going to increase not just the productivity from the corporate side of view or point of view, but it's also going to really engage the employees in enjoying their work. And then they're going to want to do better and, enjoy life more. But I think it's like the subtle signs is the ones that we're trying to get ourselves to do what others do. So it's that comparing to
Yeah.
others, which is really harmful. It's the words lazy, the words just push through, the words, why can't I just do this? Why can't I just be like others? Those are more the self ableism or
Yes.
the internal ableism comments that are more subtle. The words from external, and this I think we all have experienced. I have definitely a lot of this experience where people say, but you don't look like you have ADHD. You're fine. You're doing your PhD. Yes, I'm doing my PhD because I'm hyper fixated on this topic of neurodivergence. If you told me that
Right.
I need to
Yes.
go into a bank and stand in line, I freak out. Like I can't,
Yes.
I'm starting to sweat. I become quite rude. And this is where ADHD pops in. But people they
They
don't
don't see it.
understand. They don't see it. Yeah, because she looks fine. So that's a subtle sign of like, you're actually pissing me off when you say that,
Yeah.
because
Yes.
and it's hurting me because
Yes.
I've had to deal with this imposter syndrome my entire life, where I felt like yes, okay, maybe I didn't have ADHD. So I got a diagnosis 3 times in 3 different countries to prove to
To
myself
yourself.
that I have
Yes.
ADHD and PDA, by the way, the same as Sean in the comments. So
Yes.
I think it's that what we say to people that we think is going to be useful or
Mm.
helpful or understanding even, and it really
Yes.
hurts us. There is a problem, and I'm sorry, I'm speaking a lot about this topic because I think
No.
it's so
Good.
important.
Yes. This is what it's
Is
all about.
okay, nice. This is my hour. I can
Your
talk.
hour. Say whatever you like,
Okay,
as
this
long
is
as you stay
amazing.
on topic.
Yeah, yeah. Usually I'm the one that asks the
You're
questions,
asking
and
the
now I'm like,
questions, I
oh,
know.
it's all about
Yes, we've
okay. So,
reversed
all
roles.
right, thank you. So, okay, Michelle, I need you to be quiet now. It's my turn to do. No, I'm joking.
Okay, you speak.
Okay, I'm joking. So, no, but what I was saying is that like I've got friends, and I love my friends here. I've really tried to make friends. I've made a mission to try and make friends here, and some of them will still say to me, yeah, but we all go through this, and we all have anxiety, and we all struggle with social interaction. Yes, but do you sweat uncontrollably before you go into a social setting? Do you rehearse the scripts? Do you go into the toilet just to feel like you need to breathe, to learn, to relearn how to breathe? I know it's an automatic thing, but I need to go to the toilet to tell myself, okay, breathe out, because I'm starting to go like this. And I'm like, okay, wait, can somebody see me? Do you have this internal dialogue the whole time
Mm,
playing out in your mind that's like, am I saying too much? Am I saying too little? Are they thinking that I'm interesting? Are they bored with what I'm saying? It's constant. So I don't think that
mm,
people understand how intense this is. And then they go through this comments of, oh, yeah, but we all go through this. And I
mm.
understand that they're trying to help me, but it's really hurting me.
Yes.
So I think it's two sides. We're not always saying how much it hurt us, and I think these type of conversations are good because then we can just send it through.
Yeah.
The one comment that I had from a dinner guest, and I actually made a video that went quite viral about this person at the dinner, a dinner guest, the comment that she said, yeah, but we all lose our keys. And I'm like, this is
Yeah.
not it.
And so that's a good example, right, of them being ableist in their comments. And I
Mm,
remember when my son was diagnosed and was having some challenges at school. And I remember somebody I worked with said, don't worry, all kids are like that. And yet we were having such struggles
mm,
with
mm.
Nick's, you know, mental wellness and his social acceptance in school. And at the
Oh,
time, I kind of felt that's not true. Not all kids are going
yeah,
through exactly this. And
exactly.
I've
Yeah.
never really had a term for it.
Yeah, and that's it, right? It's not that you I mean, I can't say this for you, but it's not that
Mm.
you want a, oh, poor you. It's just
No,
that
I don't. No.
you don't want to be seen as like, oh yeah, but like we all go through this, because there is
Mm.
a difference. It's such a subtle difference because you don't see everything that's going on in our minds and our internal conversations. And when I
Mm.
have these conversations with some of the people in the chat, which is lovely, in the groups that we do on Kaboose,
Mm.
um in the like we do those mental health hangouts, and they will mention what they go through on a daily basis. And I'm not trying to generalize with gender here, but it's a lot of females that or women that we struggle to actually say, no, but that's not right,
Mm.
that's not what I meant, because we want to kind of people please, and we want to be not the one that always says something. I was told by my mom that I've got such a nice way of always telling people that they're wrong. And I'm like, that's also an ableist comment.
Yeah,
Like,
right. Yes.
yes, it's like
Yes.
I'm trying to be nice, but I'm out
Yes.
advocating, and then I'm still
Yes.
being put down. So it's like, I don't know. It's a very
Yeah.
difficult thing, but I think it's about curiosity. I think we need to
Yeah.
stay curious about what are we saying? Is it working? Is it helping? And
Mm.
maybe even just asking around, like
Yes.
asking the community, how do they cope with it? I think that could help a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, see, these statements I think are very helpful because people can relate to something similar, and then I guess being able to identify it helps them move
Yeah.
past it, What do you think schools or workplaces or even healthcare, because sometimes ableism would come in healthcare, right?
Yeah.
What do you think institutions, if you like, uh, could do
So much.
differently? Yes.
So much, right? So I'm at the university at the moment, and I remember the first time I mentioned that I have ADHD, and the head of the department, I don't even care that I'm calling her out here, went and she rolled her eyes like this. Like when I said I have ADHD and a PDA profile, she was like, oh, like this. And I'm like, oof. Like we're psychology PhD students, right? Should we not have a bit more understanding and knowledge on the topic? So first of all, I think institutions, I think all around the world, medical fields need to understand a little bit more about the evolution of what is autism, what is ADHD, what's ADHD, and also understand that it's not just what you read in the books. I studied psychology 10 years ago or I don't know, maybe more. I'm not giving my age away here, but
She's not going to give her age, no.
well, it's 41. Okay, let's just do it. Let's just rip off the band-aid. But anyway, so back then when I was studying in my honors, I think it was my honors degree, it's like autism was this much. It was like a little paragraph that we had in our psych books. And okay, it's evolved, now we know a little bit more, but I didn't learn anything that I know from lived experience in textbooks. That is a statement
Yeah.
that I will say over and over and over. I learn how I relate to individuals by really internalizing what I'm feeling and then externalizing it. So when I feel I'm anxious, that's when I share it with my clients or my friends or whatever. And that's how I connect with people, not
Mm.
by looking at what I've learned in any workshop, in any, in any degree or whatever. So I think that's the first part, is that we need to look beyond what we're taught and actually speak to neurodivergent individuals, ask them
Mm. Mhm.
anonymously in the workplace, in the institutions. As medical professionals, we need to let go of our ego and understand that we don't know everything. Definitely not. Nobody knows everything. But even if you specialize, and I've specialized in this field for 21 years, I'm learning every single day. And like I said,
Mm.
I can tell you now that I am definitely making ableist comments by accident, subconsciously
Mm.
and not meaning to. But we need to be curious. We need to stay open. We need to learn. We need to want to learn from others and also ask
Mm.
their preferences, maybe in an anonymously, questionnaire or whatever it is. But we need to be more open to learning from others and not just take the status quo. So that's the
Mm.
first thing. In institutions, at schools, what
Yeah.
parents can do definitely is to say that there are accommodations that, like the typical accommodations that people think of, where they say, oh, you can have more time. I have ADHD. I don't need more time to write exams. I write my
Mm.
exam in like 1/3 of the time that others take. But my interoceptive sense is heightened when I'm anxious. So I go to the toilet a lot more. So I wee all the time. Now,
Yes.
you're
Yeah.
not going to
As,
learn
as
that
soon as you
in
get anxious,
textbooks.
right? No.
Exactly. So you're not going to learn that in a textbook. In a textbook, it's going to
Mm.
say, but offer accommodations. I'm starting to dislike
Yeah.
that word accommodations so much,
Mm.
because it's like,
Yes.
you need special treatment. You can have the sign on your desk that says that only speak to me between 10 and 11. I don't want to be seen as that person. It's like,
Yeah.
ask me what I need. And for me personally, like when I'm writing exams, I need to have the freedom to go to the toilet and then come back
Yes.
whenever I want to. I'll write in like 30 minutes the exam, whatever. But that was a
Yeah.
personal thing
You
for
don't
me.
need
So
time. You need
I
you
don't need
need
time. Yeah,
the
exactly. So I
bathroom
think it's
breaks. Yeah.
yeah, I think accommodations can be reframed as maybe preferences for anyone. And obviously, these can't be anything for all people. Like, we can't just say, okay, well, I want to write my exams while I'm having a cocktail. Like,
Yeah.
we can't do that. Should be
Yeah.
great for the anxiety.
But
but there
we
are
can,
things.
yeah. There are
There are
things,
things.
yeah.
Yeah.
I like to think of accommodations as performance enablers because everybody needs something different in order
Yeah.
to perform to their best, whether it's at
So
school
true.
or in exams or at work. And even Sean has said here, like when they've described their experience to, their bosses, a good question is, well, how can we support you? What do you need to be
Yeah.
successful in your role? And
Exactly.
I think actually asking it, I think also for healthcare, as you say, actually being curious goes a long way.
Yeah, even with healthcare, right? Like specifically with diagnosis process, like the assessment process, what I find so many times with my clients is that they are receiving inaccurate diagnoses. So they will be diagnosed with bipolar, borderline personality disorder, depression, anxiety, and because we don't remember what happened when we were younger, and maybe we can't ask somebody because we masked so well, we camouflaged all of our things so well when we were younger. So people are like, well, you don't have ADHD or ADHD because when you were younger, you didn't have an issue with this and this and that. Yeah, because I suppressed everything. So I
Yeah,
think it's
high
also,
masking.
yeah, with healthcare professionals, I would say to really ask questions in a way that's specific to the individual and understanding that whole profile of ADHD can be masked. A lot of the characteristics can be masked. But ask the person, like, how did they feel when they grew up? Not just the what did you do? I think that's so important as well.
Yeah. Yeah, agree. How do you think internal ableism shows up in the way neurodivergent people view themselves or measure their self-worth? And maybe again, adults, and then maybe there's
Mm.
something more nuanced for kiddos?
Yeah, I think for adults, it's the stories that we tell ourselves that we believe, and we also get reinforced by others. So, kind of like what I said earlier, with when somebody says, "Oh, I don't know if I said this, it was actually my head," but if somebody says, "You're so sensitive," or "You take things so personal," those kind of things, and then we start believing it, and
Mm,
we become that person that is so sensitive and take things so personal. That I think shows up a lot with adults, where we
mm,
believe the stories that we tell ourselves and others tell us. And that becomes our personality kind of, whereas we're not looking at the what's going on below this, below the waters. Are
mm.
we actually just anxious, or are we just feeling like we have that moral kind of standing of we want to say what's right and what's wrong. And if somebody is lying, we can't accept it. So it's just kind of like the way that we work.
Mm.
And that's a good thing, by the way.
Yeah.
I was having a discussion with my favorite Joe the other day.
Oh, yes. Yes, she was great, wasn't she?
This is lovely. Yeah, this is such a nice discussion that I had. And she was speaking about this experiment that they did on neurotypical and neurodivergent individuals. And the neurodivergent individuals, or everybody, had to all answer this question, like, would you hurt somebody for money? And everybody said no. And then they were asked, but would you do it if, I think it's somebody or animals, I can't remember, but it was something horrible.
Mm.
But would you do it if nobody knew? And then
Yeah.
the neurotypicals said, yeah, they would. Like the more neurotypical brains said that they would do
Yeah.
it. And the result of the study was that neurodivergent individuals should be able to understand more when they don't need to mention something. So they got the complete wrong conclusion from that study. Like, we should actually be
Wow.
learning more from neurodivergent individuals of our ethics and our
Yes.
morals, not
Yes.
say, oh, but they need to be able to lie. So
Yeah.
this is where the world needs to also learn more from
Exactly.
neurodivergent brains, like how to
Yeah.
be more honest, open, belong in a group, community building,
Mm.
all of these things. I think it's,
Yeah.
oh, I
Yeah.
completely forgot about the question. Okay, so in terms of the kids, if you look at
Yes.
like more internalizing ableism, I think it's, if you look back in your childhood, and for me personally, I would always be kind of the shy kid, and I would tell myself that I'm not confident enough to speak up. So I think it's again, it's the stories that we tell ourselves. So I think if
Mm.
you see that your child isn't engaging or they're not looking like they're enjoying friendships or school or extramural
Mm.
activities, maybe it's a good idea to just ask them, hey, what do you like about this and what do you dislike? And then let's find something that feels a bit more comfortable for you, because they don't
Mm.
need to go to the typical settings
Yeah.
to get the education or the sports or the whatever they're interested in. So it goes back to just asking questions and really seeing what works for them.
Yeah. Yeah. We do have a question from Tiffany in the chat, which let me just find it. Is poor childhood memory a symptom of ADHD or ASD?
Poors.
Childhood memory. So we've been touching on childhood memories or things that maybe come up for
So
children.
is it a sign? So again, it's not a sign in, or it's not a symptom in the DSM, but I would say that's something to mention to somebody that
Mm.
specializes in neurodivergence. If the clinician knows what they're doing, they will know that we suppress a lot of our true feelings and our true characteristics, and that poor memory, right? Because we're constantly saying, no, that's not true, that's not right, that's not us, that wasn't me. No,
Mm.
I didn't feel anxious. No, no, no. I'm just shy. I'm just shy. Like those kind of things. So we're changing what we're really feeling and thinking by changing the narrative. And that's changing our memory. And in general, by the way,
Interesting.
there are so many
Mm.
studies on how bad our memory is because as humans, right?
Mm.
Because we change according to the prompts that we're receiving. So this is where it's really important for ableist clinicians that clinicians that are engaging in ableism, because they will say to you, and I've been there in a meeting where they said, so did you struggle to what did the one clinician ask me? He said, did you struggle to wait, or no, did you struggle with your exams? And I was like, no, I didn't. I got really good grades. And he's
Mm.
like, okay, so your grades were great, da da da. And I was like, yeah, but I did struggle to wait for somebody. Like if they told me that they're coming and they're late. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, but that's, like you're able to wait for an exam, so you're able to go into that setting, so you're fine. And I was like, yeah, but, and I was like, oh, maybe I am. So it changed
Yeah.
how I thought
Right.
about it, right? So I was like, oh, maybe I'm okay. Like I have, I can wait. I can wait for the
You can wait
exam.
your turn, but
Yeah,
then
I'm
not really,
fine.
not all the time, right? And it
Yes,
depends on the setting.
I think it's, yeah, so it's the way that the question is framed and if you relate to the question. So I think it's all of these things that we need to be aware of when we go into those settings with clinicians, because
Mm.
memory definitely, yeah, I think it's maybe not a sign, but it's something that we suppress. And then
Yeah.
we change with the way that we speak about it and we listen to others and we're starting to change our story.
Yeah. So it sounds like the memory piece is like almost an impact of maybe ableism in some way, whether it's external or your own internal ableism
Yeah.
that can create that impact. What
Yeah.
what else
Part
do
of
you
it.
think? What else in
Part of
terms
it.
of impacts?
So just one more thing about the memory, because I think it's such an important question, right? Like, I'm not saying that it's just purely because of ableism, but I think what a
Mm.
good way for Tiffany is to look back what I did, because um, after my meeting with my psychiatrist, my initial psychiatrist, I was like, oof, maybe I should double check these things. So what I did is I went into the photographs of when I was younger. So I would look at a photograph of me looking at another kid at a party or whatever. And then I would like really try and go back into that memory. And then I would say, wait, I was really, really scared to speak to this kid. But on the photo, it just looks like I'm a little bit shy, whatever. But I then felt that fear and that nausea that I felt whenever I had to make the first move to initiate conversations. I was like, oh, I hate that. And I still do, but I'm good because I practiced. So I think it's
Mm.
really important to go back into the memories and really see, like, try and scratch away the what we told ourselves about those memories and
Mm.
try and go back into that little body of yours and see, what did I feel when I was there? That's a bit of like inner child working, if you will, but I think that's really good.
It's a great idea. Yeah.
What was the other
Hopefully
question that you
that
had?
then I was just curious, I suppose, like, what other impacts of, ableism can you think
Yeah.
of in terms of the impacts to the community?
I think, well, towards yourself and towards the community. I think for yourself, it
Mm.
really makes you doubt yourself. It's got a detrimental effect on your self confidence. Like I said earlier, I am 41 now. And I think only the last like 5 years, I really started liking myself. I didn't like who I was. I didn't like how I stressed about everything. I didn't like how I wasn't able to just be like everyone else and be okay
Mm.
with everyone else or everything else and, the environments and so on. So, when I was younger, I would drink a lot to numb the noises and everything. And later on, I decided, okay, now I need to really focus on why I dislike these places and things and the way that people speak to me about different things about
Mm.
my neurodivergence. So I think it came with age. But I would say that if you encounter a person, a place, or yourself where you feel that whoever you are isn't understood or liked, then that's something to get away from if it's a place or a person. If it's yourself, it's something that you need to delve into a little bit more and really find the reason, because
Mm.
that's the one thing that I would say is to start really liking who you are. Because we're awesome. Like neurodivergent people, most of our friends are neurodivergent. We're great. We've got so many different kind of ways of looking at the world, and we're interesting and quirky, and I absolutely love it. But it's
Mm.
finding those people, like finding the community that understands, that wouldn't say, "Oh, Karla, you speak about so many things all the time." Like, like people that are interested in you.
Yeah.
That's something.
Yeah. Geordie says uh, uh, could being shy as someone that is autistic just be masking and not in fact shyness. Neurotypicals just see it as shy. Masking shy is our cover up.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Jordy, I'm
Mm.
with you there. Hey, because I'm not shy when I'm with my autistic friends. I'm
Mm.
actually probably the one that speaks the most. That's why I'm so happy about this hour. But yeah, I think being shy is us feeling like we don't belong or we're too much. That's also another one that we hear quite
Mm.
often as like, you're too much or you're too sensitive or too sensitive. What's the other one? You take everything personal, or why do you always have to say to the person that's throwing the rubbish on the floor that they shouldn't be doing that? Because like I
Mm.
literally can't walk past somebody if they're doing that. I have to say something. It's
So
like
that's
there's
not
no other
shy,
way. That's not shy, yeah. But we
but
suppress it.
yeah, I think so. I also think, like Sean says here, is he used to think of himself as shy, but
We don't have
not
Sean's
shy.
mail.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know. That's okay. They, them,
Yeah. Oh, he, him.
he, him.
Okay. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, Sean. But you know, he says, but he likes alone time, and I think that too. Like, so, I
Mm,
am in a HR role, as well as doing Caboose, and I can't afford to be shy, but I still like alone time, and I
mm,
still find that my social battery can get drained
mm.
from all of that. So it doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily have to be shyness, I guess.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. And with just taking it back to ableism, I think with if you have your friends where you feel comfortable enough to say, look, I might come across as an extrovert, and that whole introvert extrovert thing has been debunked. There's no such thing as just like the
Yes.
two types. But I look like I'm very extroverted, but I need downtime after social events, like for a day, sometimes 2 days if it's a big event. And if you mention this to your friends and they're understanding and they say, okay, well, that's fine. I'm not going to contact you or whatever. That's great. Those are the type of friends that you want. That's a great filter to have. But when I say filter, it's like when you're saying what your preferences are and they really respect it, that's really great. That's a good friend. But if somebody says, "Oh no, but like you're such an extrovert," those kind of comments are difficult because then we feel like we need to live up to the expectation again. And like my fellow PDAers in the chat, I
Mm,
hate being expected to do something. So I would go against the grain. And then it's this internal game that I kind of play where I'm like, but they don't want me to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm not going to do it because they want me to do it. And then it's like we're losing actually totally track of what we're actually doing here.
mm,
We're not doing what we like. We're not doing, what we feel comfortable in. And then we get so involved in this kind of like back and forth that, yeah,
mm.
life is difficult. We're just losing so much energy on this.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
I
Even if
think
when
you've
it's
got people.
something,
Yes, you should do a TED talk. There you go.
please come and join me. See,
We've
now I'm shy.
yeah.
Now I'm gonna go shy.
We've talked about writing a book and doing TED talks,
Yeah, we
but
will. Maybe
yeah,
as a
one day.
community, this is something that I would
that's
love to
right.
do. Is like if we
A
do like a
community
community.
TED talk.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
great because then I wouldn't feel as intimidated. Yeah, but I think, yeah, I think it's having these kind of people, like us together. I think for me, it feels so much better when we are supporting one another from a place where we understand how hard it is to do these talks. Whereas if somebody that's very typical tells me, "Oh, you're doing such a great job," I'm like, "Yeah, that feels derogatory because you're just saying it because you think that that's what I want to hear." But when
Mm,
somebody says, "I understand how hard it is to do these live talks,
yeah.
how stressful it is. You don't want to say the wrong thing. You don't want to swear. You don't want to do all these things." And that's when I'm like, "Oh, okay, they truly get me." I think
Yes.
so. It all goes back to mixing with the people that feel real and where you don't
Yeah.
feel judged, I think.
Exactly. Yes. There's a few comments in the chat here that are agreeing with what you're saying.
Nice.
What do you or what do you think people can do to notice and name ableism, either in their own environments or in communities and workplaces?
Yeah.
What do you think?
So I think one thing that I'm actively working on, and I'm trying to do it right now, is to, as soon as somebody says something, not to just agree. So when somebody says, and this I heard ever since I couldn't remember, "Oh, but you are so blah, blah, blah. You are,
Hmm.
hey, but Karla, you're always so, like one thing, you're always in a new relationship." Yeah, okay. Why do you think that is? Like, there's so much more to that statement. First of all, that hurts. Second of all, you don't know my life story. Third, there's a reason why we, as a lot of us neurodivergent women, hop from relationships. Yeah, like we never feel like we can be loved truly
Mm,
because we're too much and too sensitive. So there's a lot of trauma coming into that statement that you made. So I would say whenever you feel like somebody is saying something about you, at you, or towards how you should work or be in a workplace scenario, in a relationship, in a friendship, in a restaurant, at a school, whatever, and it's going to affect you, take a moment before you just agree and just ask yourself, how does this make you feel? Is this true? Because there's that moment where we want to people please. Yeah, no, sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're funny. Yes. Yeah, that's true. Always this, that. That's what we initially want to say because we just want the attention away from us. But we're actually letting them get away with something that's quite hurtful and
mm,
untrue. And for the
mm.
most part, is going to hurt us later. So I would say try to pause, take a moment, and if you can, if you feel like you've got the capacity to maybe just say, "I don't think that's true." If you don't want to say that, then maybe you can just follow up with an email or follow up with a
Mm.
message and say, "Hey, what you said, this is actually what's going on, or this is actually what I need." I think that's a really good way just to kind of pause. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, that's a great piece of advice. Max says, let me see, the chat is jumping, so I lost my little spot. Max says, I get more quiet, less open around people I don't connect with. Maybe that is common. Still, I feel like it is much more a thing with neurodivergent people.
Yeah. So I think, and that's kind of you're protecting yourself. And that's great. I do this too, where I would protect myself with it's kind of like being in a room with racists, right? Like I'm from South Africa and I would always fight that topic. When somebody would say a racist topic, I would be like, or racist comment, I would fight it, fight it, fight it. But it's like you're fighting against the wall. You're just like hitting your hand against the wall. Some people are just never going to understand. So I would always kind of determine, are these the people that I want in my life? Definitely not. So I'm not even going to agree or disagree. I'm just going to walk away from this. And that takes a lot of effort because I want to explain why they're being idiots when they're saying racist topics.
Your sense of justice kicks
Yeah, I'm like,
in.
yeah, but I do ask myself, like, is this really worth my energy? So I do try to step away more, but I think it's self-preservation. So it's protecting your own energy, protecting your own capacity. There are always going to be people that don't see further than their nose. So we need to kind of also determine if that's going to be somebody that we're going to see on a daily basis, then maybe we can find a way to let them know that they need to not speak to us about these topics. But if it's somebody that you're just going to see once and you don't have to see them again, I wouldn't even engage. If it's somebody that is going to stay in your life and they're saying ableist things, not on purpose, so it's not their intention, then I would take a moment and say, hey, do you want to talk about this? Because this is how that comment makes me feel. And this is a good way of explaining it because people, they take things quite sensitively. Like this is hilarious because they always say that neurodivergent people are sensitive, but I think like holistic people are extremely sensitive when you tell them how it makes you feel. But if we follow it up with this comment makes me feel like this because that, and we make it into a story, it helps a lot of times to not get them to become quite defensive. So I know
It's
that's a lot
educating
of
with context, and I think it's great. And some comments saying it's great too. I think giving context and your role in educating the community on what ableist comments are, fantastic.
Yeah.
Geordie has a question. Does anyone have a mantra to replace the neurotypical evergreen term, fake it till you make it, when it comes to social confidence? I hate that term too.
I used to use it. Hey, Geordie, this is hilarious. I used to use it maybe about 10 years ago. I would say to myself, oh, just fake it till you make it. And I really dislike it. Max is saying replace fake it till you make it by maybe it's the way you, what? It's the way I bake it, leave it or take it. Oh, that's cool. It's the way I bake it, leave it or take it. Yeah, no, I think I love that. I love Max's term, but also just saying like I think it's practicing things sometimes helps. So that's not faking it though. Do you know what I would replace it with? Ever since I started mentioning when I'm anxious, I've become a lot less anxious doing these things. So because I do therapy 8 hours a day with my clients, right? I'm constantly doing therapy on myself. So that's a plus because I'm constantly hearing things,
Yeah, you get
But
learning
also,
from it, right?
yeah. But also, I used to, and I've told this story before, but when I do like TV interviews or whatever, I would get so nervous. You can't really see it now, but I would get like completely red in my neck here and my face as well. So like I called it the shine. I would go all the way like red all the way up. And I would just put on more makeup and scarves. And it was summer and I would sweat. And this was horrible because I would just like plaster things on me so that I don't look uncomfortable. And obviously, I looked way more uncomfortable than just having a red neck. And now I'm just like, well, I'm anxious, Michelle, and I'm going to talk too fast and I'm going to be red and I'm probably not going to sit correctly. So let me just fix that. But,
or move around.
It makes me better. Yeah, exactly. But it makes me feel better because now I'm more comfortable and I've accepted myself. So I think screw faking it till you make it, but maybe mentioning, yes, this is making me feel a bit anxious. If people don't understand or they're like, oh, why are you anxious or whatever, that's a very good filter to say, well, that's obviously not going to be my friends. That's,
Mm,
whatever. I don't care about those.
mm.
But when others say, and this I've often heard, I'm also anxious, then okay, well, that person can also be quite honest and it could also be a friend of yours.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think? Do you think that like that fake it till you make it, then people saying that that's an ableist comment, right?
Yeah, I
Or do
guess.
you think it's not, or is it something just that you're kind of, I mean, by saying it, like Geordie is sort of saying, then she starts to believe that that's what she has to do. Whereas,
uh,
what she's asking is it okay to be herself? And
yeah. Yeah. So,
whether
like,
that's awkward or not.
yeah, like Shauna's saying here, it's performative being able. So I think it's,
Mm,
for me, it depends. If you're saying it to yourself, like you're obviously just trying to suppress, which is never good in the long term.
mm,
But again, I don't want to be that person that says, okay, you can't go into any situation that's uncomfortable, because we have to, unfortunately, push ourselves a little bit. And I like pushing
mm,
myself a little bit outside of my comfort zone if I feel safe, and because
mm,
otherwise I wouldn't do these things, right? And our voices are important. So all of our voices are important in whichever way you feel like you want to engage. Like, it doesn't need to be
mm,
lives, obviously. But I think faking it is not good. I think maybe supporting yourself to do something that's important for you is good. So if it's a self, if you're internalizing that, then yes, I think it's something that you can change to. This is the way I bake it. But I think if it's somebody else that says it to you, then maybe it is their way of trying to motivate you. But I think
yeah,
saying to them, look, I'm really anxious. That's why I don't want to go on stage. Do you have
mm,
strategies to help me feel less anxious? That could be a better way. I don't know if it's ableism. I think it's more, it's maybe it is. See, this
mm.
is the thing, is like we're all kind
It's
of
yeah, yeah.
like, doing it.
Yeah. Look, I don't know. I don't know. There's some nuance in this, I guess, and that's why it's such an interesting but tricky topic to talk about, because what is and isn't, and I guess
Mm,
what can you do? And you've sort of shared a few, but what can you do to challenge maybe internal ableism or replace it with sort of more, affirming self-talk? So maybe it's something to do with reframing or
mm.
understanding our own sort of expectations. What do you think the strategies are?
Yeah, I think, first of all, to challenge yourself if it is something that you're just comparing to others. So I would first of all ask myself, am I saying this to myself because I'm comparing myself to somebody else that is able to do the thing? So, for example, am I saying, why are you so anxious, or why are you so nervous if Sandy isn't nervous? That
Mm,
is internal ableism. That's a problem. So we're all very different. I have strengths that are different to yours. You have strengths that are different to mine. That's the first thing that I see as a therapist that is
mm,
problematic, is when we start comparing. And then I would definitely challenge that and say to myself, okay, there's a reason why I'm sweating. I'm not sweating because I like sweating. I don't think anyone likes sweating. Well, there are some
no.
random people out there, but like
Yes, I'm
some random quirks out there. But it's not like I want to get red. It's not like I want my heart to race. It's not like I want. So my physiological signs are a definite good indicator
mm,
that my body is feeling something. It's not like I've made this up. But if you look at the nervous system, obviously there are two parts: parasympathetic, sympathetic. So autonomic and your central nervous system. And those two things give you real clues to where you're at. So, where your brain's at. So, if you look at from a brain based approach, if your brain is in fight or flight mode, or if you look at it from a brain based approach, if your brain is kind of like in survival mode, right? Then
mm.
you can't push yourself to do expressive, or sorry, like planning, prioritizing,
Yeah,
all of these
executive
things, right?
functioning
Yeah.
stuff.
Exactly. So you can't do executive functioning stuff when you're in a survival mode. So you have to give yourself credit to where you are. So if your brain is in survival or in fight or flight mode, you can't push it to do things that are very planny or
Mm,
prioritizing. So we need to be a little bit more aware where our body is at and where our brain is at. So it's a top, bottom, and bottom up approach that I would say is very important. So going back to the question, I think if we look at the stories that we tell ourselves, first maybe ask yourself, how am I feeling? What signs am I experiencing? And then we can go from there. Because I think if we're constantly saying, I have to do this, I should be able to, da 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 da, we're pushing our brains into executive functioning skills mode, and we're not there. We need to feel
Mm,
safe first. We need to feel connected second, and
mm.
then we can feel what, or ask ourselves, what can we learn or what can we do?
Yeah, great. I
That's
like
a
that.
really quick neuropsych lesson, very quick one for
Fantastic.
like
I'm
1 minute.
sure everyone would love more of that. How can neurodivergent communities support each other in, I guess, resisting ableist comments, but also trying to help sort of reduce that harm? I think about our spins in Kaboose, and there's always a lot of chatter in different
Mm.
groups. But how do you think that this group could support each other more?
I think when something feels off and it doesn't feel like that's quite right, I think it's good to just ask a question like, is this really true? And then maybe just
Mm.
say what is actually going on. So it's teaching, I guess, in a way, or just
Yeah,
sharing what you're
yeah,
going through, because people innately are scared of anything that's different. So if
mm,
you think differently, if you act differently, if you speak differently, if you look differently, if your hair is different, if anything is different, people are like, that's their initial thought, because, we're trained to kind of like stick to things that look the same and act
mm,
the same and think the same and blah, blah, blah. But luckily, we're changing a little bit and we're more curious about things that are a little bit different. But
mm,
people's initial reaction is not going to be, oh, that's amazing. People's initial
mm,
reaction is probably going to be a little bit negative.
mm,
I just want us to not be deterred because of our traumatic past, because we've been rejected so many times that we're like, oh, well, I'm not even going to try. Because then we're not going to evolve as a community, a global
mm,
community. I think if we're saying, okay, we know from social psych that people reject anything that's different, anything that's outside of the curve, right? They're going to reject initially.
yes.
But people are good. We are good innately. If we just get through that initial barrier and say, you know what, this is why I can't go to the concert. I had a guy, went on a date, right? He's like, oh, come to Black Coffee, this like really amazing thing. I'm like, no, I don't want to go. I love Black Coffee. It brings South Africa onto the map, right? But it's intense. The music's like like this. The
Yeah.
lights are like
Sensory overload.
flickering. I'm like, no, dude, I can't go. And he's like, yeah, but this is amazing. Like, what's wrong? Like, and he immediately
Yeah.
attacked me, my personality. He was like, so you don't experience anything new? He was telling me all these things. And I was like, okay, so obviously this guy is not somebody that I'm going to date. But I was like, I'm going to take this as an opportunity to just learn for myself how to self advocate.
Mm,
So I was like, it's not that I'm not experiencing new things. I skydive all the time. I go and dive all the time. I do things that are in solitude, quite intense. I do extreme sports. I 4x4. Like I do
mm.
things that are seen as, oh wow, that's quite intense. My whole entire back is full of tattoos. Don't tell me that
Yeah.
I'm not like a risk taker.
Yes, that's right. Or
But
trying something new. But that's such an ableist thing to say, right?
exactly, yeah. But okay,
Yeah.
so again, like he doesn't know
Mm,
this guy again, like he's probably not the person
mm,
that I want to see again. But
mm.
it was a good opportunity to say, this is the reason. The reason is
Yeah.
with the music, it feels like it's squashing my organs. Like that's how it feels
Yeah.
like when the music is so intense, when people are all around and when they're touching me and they're sweating, I could smell every single person's like odor.
True.
And I had to say that to him. But I said, and also, this is also me, by the way. So I think if something doesn't feel right, if you feel like
Mm,
you have the capacity to maybe just say, this is why, and this is what I
mm,
what I do, not to
mm.
defend yourself. In that case, I probably did a bit, but to to help them to stay
Educate.
curious, because people want to learn. They just have to get through that initial barrier of like, oh, we're going to talk and walk and act the same.
Yes. Yes,
Like,
exactly. Vanilla. We
yeah,
do have
exactly.
time. We have time for maybe one or two questions, although we're coming close to time. I have one last one to
Yes.
ask you, probably more about workplaces. What do you think, if anyone who's listening is, a leader
Workplaces.
in a workplace or a HR person, what sort of workplace policies or uh,
Mm,
shifts can they make to sort of dismantle ableism over time? And maybe not quick fixes, but
yeah. Yeah, I think one thing that I would say is to stop making it into like, oh, this is what neurodivergent people need. So we're going to see what we can do. Like maybe we can bring in some noise canceling headphones and a sensory room. Great. Okay, yeah, that's wonderful. But
mm,
everybody needs something. So I think maybe saying that what's our budget? What are things that we can include for everybody because it's going to add productivity for everyone, and then asking people to anonymously let them know what they need to
mm,
work better. So to be flexible with working hours, obviously be flexible where you work if possible. So working from home works for us always better. Well, not always, sorry. That's such a blanket statement. Sorry, I was distracted by the topic. Sorry. I was like, what? No, no, not always better, but I work better
mm.
from home and a lot of my clients and
Yes,
friends also do. But I think it's knowing that we are so different and that most of the things that we prefer are going to help everybody. And if it doesn't help
they are.
you, whatever, Andy, it's going to help the environment so that Andy can work better too. So it's like it's a
Exactly.
win-win for everyone. I think, yeah, workplace, like I'm just trying to think if there's anything else specifically that I think would be really great. It's yeah, it's just learning from others, but also taking neurodivergent. Sorry, this is very important. Neurodivergent knowledge into the workplace. Why do we get
Mhm.
distracted by lights? Because we're focusing on it, right? More neurotypical brain is also being distracted by it, but not as much as we are, right? So if the
Mm.
lights are going to be better, it's going to be better for them too. The way that we are kind of what's that? Oh, it's your doggies that came in.
Yes,
Oh, shame, that's cute. But the way that we bring in knowledge could help everyone at work and definitely corporates.
yeah,
Sorry. Okay.
I think
I'm
so.
going to stop talking.
Yeah. No, no, no. People are saying thank you, and Sean says
Thank you.
encourage the dialogue. Agree. I think it's that going back to asking the question, you know,
Mm,
leaders, HR people being curious about, enablers for everybody and policies that are, you know, they're designed for all people to be successful.
mm.
Um, Yes. So I think I don't think we have any last minute questions. So wow, that was great. The mini TED talk from Karla. Thank you, as always.
Thank you for
And
giving me an hour.
you had an hour. I know we'll have to do it again. I'm sure there's so many other topics we can do this where you can do the talking instead of asking the questions. So
Love it.
but do join us for our next round of divergent discussions. We will have coming up, we've got Janine Lillian, who is joining us on self care. Janine actually is one of our community members in Kaboose, and they are going to talk to us about self care. We also have Kinship joining us to talk about the NDIS for those who are here in Australia. Thank you to Geordie for suggesting that topic. If you have a topic you'd like us to talk about, feel free to drop me a note or connect with me in Caboose. We also have Ruby Susan joining us again. They joined us last year on Neighbour Day, but they're coming back to talk about disability, LGBTQIA plus space. So you can get those tickets through Humanitix, our website, or in the app. And yeah, and just a reminder that if you have paid for a ticket to this one, you'll get a replay in the morning from Rocks. So
Michelle, just one question.
yes,
I was mentioning here to Geordie, maybe she can share this with her work.
of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
So maybe she can share this discussion because that could help them.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also have a team here at Kaboose that can talk to workplaces. So if anyone is looking for a workplace consultation or training for managers in the workplace, we have a product launch in the coming weeks, which is very exciting about for manager support. So thank you
Awesome.
all for joining us. And hopefully we'll see you in the next couple of Divergent discussions.
Yay. Thank you, everyone. This was great.